Welcome to this parallel session of the Gender Summit, where we would focus on the funding agenda for gender transformation in African sciences. This session is an initiative of the Gender Equity and Inclusivity Project, commonly known as the GEI, and the Science Granting Council Initiative, as well as the Global Research Council. I am Tashni Pillay, and I have the pleasure of being your facilitator today for today's session. A little bit about myself. I'm currently the acting executive director and director for grants management and system administration at the National Research Foundation of South Africa. I have been with the foundation for the last 16 years before I worked at a science council. I hold a master's degree in sociology and I'm busy with a doctoral in business leadership. I serve as the African Regional Co-Chair for the Global Research Council Working Group on EDI, and my passion and focus is on the next generation and emerging researchers, although I have extensive knowledge in research management and system administration. For the session, we have invited members from the Global Research Council at a regional and international level, all of whom are experienced in the implementation of gender equality and inclusivity projects and concepts within their own respective countries. They will each talk from their various standpoints about incorporating gender transformation within their science granting councils. As we talk, and we also identify gaps that are still existing. I'm glad here to be with you today to have a productive and insightful discussion. This webinar will follow the following structure. I'll begin with myself, and then the three panelists each will be given some input on the topic. We will then move into an open Q&A session where you're welcome to ask questions about the chat in the chat box. Please be aware the session is being recorded and will be available on the HSRC YouTube channel. This is also where you can catch up on the reflections at the Intersections webinar series that is hosted by the HSRC GEE team. To ensure you don't miss up on any upcoming dialogues and other important announcements, I encourage you to sign up for the Science Granting Council GEE quarterly e-newsletter, and also stay tuned to the Science Granting Council GEE media channels. We are very excited to have such a good turnout today. Please continue to introduce yourself and engage in our chat box. And don't hesitate to use the chat box for any questions throughout the webinar. Today, I'm pleased to introduce my fellow panelists, Dr. Annette Otara. She's the head of studies, capacity building and partnerships at Fonsi Pasteur in Cote d'Ivoire. She has been the coordinator within the Science Granting Council initiative since 2015. She is also a member of the Global Research Council. We also have with us Nadagada Mushi. She is the manager for the social science section in the Directorate of Research Coordination and the Promotion at COSTECH, Tanzania. The section is responsible for steering research, coordination and promotion of culture and evidence-based policymaking through processing and disseminating of research innovation products to stakeholders. She represents COSTECH in Tanzania's national groups of experts for Generation Equality Forum, and also institutionalized team leaders for the GEI project under the Science Granting Council initiative. We also have Faith Makungo, who is the Assistant Director Research in charge of planning and compliance in the department at the National Research Fund in Kenya. Faith is a gender expert, and she is involved in gender and equity within the NRF and has participated in some of the gender inclusiveness forums within the Science Granting Council initiative. Faith is also responsible for designing and implementing the Inclusiveness Project within the National Research Fund, Kenya. I would like to invite the panelists to start their discussions with a brief scene setter by giving some insight into the topic based on their backgrounds and experience. A reminder to the audience to please submit your questions in the chat box, and we will get to them once panels have concluded their presentation. I'm going to start with myself, who will discuss more or less our South African context. So in terms of the South African context, equity, diversity, and inclusiveness, commonly known as EDI to us, remains a critical component for sustainable research system because it encourages innovation, creativity, and supports social justice, fairness that promotes good quality research and relevance. It further increases the global competitiveness and cultivates trust and engagement between science and society, which is something that we really focus on. The promotion of EDI fosters a more inclusive research ecosystem that has outreaching benefits to researchers, institutions, and society. Therefore, it should be considered as a vital element of any funding agency strategy. These principles are critical for the National Research Foundation South Africa, given the historical context that we are undergoing efforts to address our systematic inequalities that still exist within our research and development sector. Higher education in particular is seen as a vehicle to provide opportunities to strengthen equality, social justice, and democracy within our country. The economy's current status within the sector implies that there are various challenges related to transformation and that it is more of a journey. However, the ultimate goal for the country is to ensure that we have a thriving and sustainable research sector. So that is basically the context that we exist. Within the GEI project, transformation is one of the 4 pillars of our vision 2030 and is also linked to our strategy 2025. It is also incorporated into all our strategic documents, and we do have a comprehensive transformational framework that is a living document within our organization. It focuses on 4 aspects, which is 1, transforming equity profiles within the South African workforce, transforming the knowledge economy, transforming the relationship between science and society, and building a diverse and inclusive learning organization. In line with our mandate, transformation is led fully representative, and we look at and focus on increasing high quality research, enhance engagement through public awareness, and the impact of research that makes a difference to the lives of our citizens. The focus always remains, and our current focus is on revising policy and funding programs. A few of these are basically our enhancing of a postgraduate student access, success, and throughput policy, which led to a revision of our postgraduate funding instruments and practices. We also have targeted interventions that support emerging researchers and a research agenda. The NRA focus is not only on who is conducting the research, but also on what we research about, the methodologies used. To understand the South African challenges in advancing EDI, data on the research enterprises, the historical context, as well as our challenges, our institutional cultures and gender-based violences are being considered. This is of high importance for us in terms of monitoring and evaluation. And it is something where we are at this point. We are focusing highly on access to data and also on interpretation of our data within our systems. We're actually focusing on analysis of higher education management information through our HEMIS database and focusing on race and gender data at the moment. Our current data shows that African and colored women remain significantly underrepresented within our region. At the student level, it is mainly the set fields and doctoral level that require attention, as well as our emerging researchers focusing on academic staffing for African and colored women, which are still remain unrepresentative within the sector. The findings are supported by the NRF data as well as our rating system, which shows stark differences by gender, and it is clear the intersection of race and gender that exists in terms of our data. Some of our challenges that we experience is the awareness of training provided to our leaders and decision makers to ensure that there's an unconscious bias, equity, and inclusiveness leadership practices. Another challenge for us is the funding support. This ensures that the funding mechanisms are designed to focus on the unrepresentative groups, which we on the granting side include targets, and also focus on women and underrepresentative groups that are disadvantaged through our historical context, through strong targets. And it is imperative for us to lead and fund according to these targets. The working environment should also, and I think something that is very common and very popular in terms of our discussions these days, is the implementation of flexible work, especially after COVID, arrangements and supporting systems to accommodate these diversities, especially when it comes to researchers and when they have caregiving responsibilities. And then most of our focus, as I said, currently is on audited and transparency. So we do continuous assessments on our targets, annual reporting on the state of gender equity and inclusiveness within the NRF. So I'm now going to hand over to Annette.
Okay, thank you. Je disais que déjà, je vous remerciais pour la prise de parole. Je voudrais déjà noter que pour le FONSI, la prise en compte...
Thank you for giving me the floor. I would like to say that to take into account gender and equality is a catalyzer in research, and it's also a way of having a result for the research that are guaranteed, that guarantee sustainability. Our research is started in 2008, and actually only 30% of our winners are women. So we need to have a higher level of scientists in the university. It's less than 50% of teaching and researcher. And in the same public university that we have, it's 2 women that we have as chair or president, but so it's only 2, and we realize that mostly men have responsibility in the university. We have 3 men in FOSTI, and we have no women in our scientific council. We tried to have parity, to have enough, as many women or as men for the scientific processes. And at the secretariat, we have 3 departments. 2 of them have a woman at their head. So we tried to correct things by having a gender policy, gender and inclusion policy. This policy was applied from 2024. And with the support of HGCI, the different trainings that we had, it actually encouraged this policy, and with the help of some of the SGCs, we managed to apply this policy in most of the decisions taken. From 2008, we try to have a number of actions in order to encourage different categories into research. For
étudiantes en master pour leur permettre de pouvoir quand même réaliser leurs activités de recherche doctorale. Donc, nous avons eu 4 éditions, c'est-à-dire en 2018 plutôt, en 2019, en 2021 et la dernière a été faite en 2022. Aussi, pour pouvoir encourager les femmes à postuler et à être à la tête des équipes de recherche, nous avons lancé en 2022 un appel à projet spécialement pour les femmes chercheurs, avec pour obligation d'impliquer toutes les couches vulnérables de la société pour pouvoir vraiment participer. Et nous organisons régulièrement des sessions de formation à l'attention des femmes et des jeunes chercheurs dans les universités et centres de recherche pour les rendre un peu plus compétitifs dans le financement, tant au plan national qu'international. Il faut, malgré tout cela, reconnaître que nous avons des défis et des priorités de financement parce que les ressources, malheureusement, dont nous disposons sont vraiment très, très réduites et il y a nécessité chez nous de pouvoir augmenter le nombre de jeunes filles, par exemple, dans les STEM, puisque déjà l'orientation, déjà après le baccalauréat, est un peu compliquée parce que la quasi-totalité des filles préfèrent aller dans les sciences littéraires, les sciences sociales. Et donc, l'un des défis pour nous, c'est de vraiment mobiliser les ressources afin de former les femmes et les différentes couches vulnérables et les accompagner dans la mise en œuvre efficace de la recherche parce que la recherche est réservée à tous, aux personnes vivant avec un handicap, aux femmes, aux hommes, etc. Par ailleurs, il faudrait aussi noter l'existence à notre niveau en matière de recherche et d'innovation de la nécessité de prendre en compte les prendre en compte à la fois dans la rédaction des projets. Donc, lorsque les projets sont menés, aujourd'hui au niveau du fonds, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? On demande obligatoirement que les équipes de recherche soient composées de femmes, soient composées de jeunes étudiants, de jeunes chercheurs, et que surtout les résultats présentés au cours de ces exercices-là prennent en compte ces différentes catégories sociétales-là afin de faciliter l'implémentation. Un des défis aussi à relever, c'est vraiment de mettre en place des infrastructures adéquates pour faciliter l'accès à ces différentes catégories. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes souvent confrontés au fait que beaucoup de personnes vivant avec un handicap physique n'arrivent pas à accéder à certaines salles de cours parce que des aménagements n'existent pas pour les aider à pouvoir suivre les cours comme tout le monde le fait. Et comme on n'a pas un très bon niveau de connectivité Internet, c'est souvent difficile aussi de suivre les cours en ligne. Donc, un de nos challenges, c'est vraiment de mettre en place ces infrastructures-là pour pouvoir aider toutes ces couches à accéder à la connaissance et participer aux activités de recherche. Aussi, travailler à faciliter la mobilité de ces derniers-là quand on sait que les femmes sont multifonctionnelles, elles sont similaires à des appareils connectés, elles sont obligées de tout faire. Donc, il faudrait aussi développer dans nos politiques nationales des mécanismes pour qu'elles puissent, même après peut-être le mécanisme d'enfantement ou autre, continuer les études, que ça ne soit pas un frein parce que ça fait partie généralement de la fonction de la femme. Maintenant, dans le futur, qu'est-ce que nous voulons faire? Nous voulons mettre en place un système de mentorat, c'est-à-dire créer des plateformes numériques d'échange qui favoriseraient la mise en place et l'accompagnement de ces jeunes chercheurs-là pour pouvoir accéder à des postes de responsabilité, augmenter leur leadership et les accompagner à finaliser leurs activités de recherche. Ces plateformes peuvent être à la fois des plateformes nationales comme internationales. Et aujourd'hui, au niveau du FONSTI, contrairement à l'Afrique du Sud, nous travaillons maintenant à modifier certaines de nos politiques de gouvernance, comme le plan stratégique que nous avons, en incluant directement, en plus de la politique genre, des stratégies internes qui pourront impacter également notre écosystème de l'environnement et de la recherche avec des informations claires et précises sur la prise en compte du genre et de l'inclusivité. Et travailler à ce que des prises en charge, c'est-à-dire des subventions totales ou partielles, puissent être accordées à ces différentes couches sociales-là en prenant en compte les diversités culturelles et spatiales. Merci. Je pense que j'ai un peu résumé. Avec les questions, il serait possible pour moi de mieux expliciter ce qui est fait au niveau de la Côte d'Ivoire.
Thank you, Dr. Annette Otara. I'll now move over to our next panelist, Helga Mushi.
Yeah, good afternoon from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Yes, my name is Hildegarda Mushi from the Tanzanian Commission for Science and Technology. Yeah, can I please present a PowerPoint? Yes, the Tanzanian Commission for Science and Technology is a organization and it's under the government of Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania. Yeah, it's an organization that has a very broad mandate compared to most of the science granting councils because it's a regulator. It's also a funding agency. We provide funding, but we also provide guidance by different guidelines, tools to guide research and innovation activities in the country. But we also provide technical services like capacity building. And we also provide other services like internet connectivity to higher learning institutions. And of course, because we are also coordinating, also monitoring and implementation of deployment to ensure deployment of research for national development. And for us, gender equality is enshrined in the national constitution. And you can see that our GDP expenditure for research is not that much, it's less than 5%. Now I'll just briefly work on what our council has been doing to enhance gender equality and equity. As per the national government, you can see that we have various policies. We have national gender policies. We have programs that are based on the national commitment for enhancing gender equality. And at the institutional level, we do have the institutional gender policy. This was from 2018. And we also we are funding research innovation activities. We have this national fund. It's a national fund, but the COSTECH is a host of that fund, National Fund for Advancement of Science and Technology. And also we do fund, through that fund, we provide research funding and innovation funding through competitive and non-competitive methods. For instance, we have this fund of research, we fund research projects in various sectors or themes. We do fund research chairs, and specifically for women, I should call upon to everyone to pay a lot of attention in the green boxes, because it's only last year we started women grants. We issued women-only grants where only women could apply for that grant, and they won, and now the research is ongoing. And now, through the funding line, we are getting through the funding. We are going to look forward with under the grant of science council enhance using to enhance. But as I said earlier, we do have frameworks or guidelines that we are providing that help the country to guide research and innovation activities in the country. For instance, we have the National Research Integrity Framework. This is a framework that guides ethics, including gender. Gender is one of the aspects of ethics in our research integrity framework. We have in the postdoc framework as well. But in a new move, only this year, in January this year, we have an approval of a national framework for mainstreaming gender in research and innovation. This is a comprehensive document that will guide STI activities throughout the country to ensure that gender equality and inclusivity is an aspect throughout the research processes. And we do have capacity building, a number of capacity building aspects that we do through like training women researchers, training young researchers to write competitive research proposals. This is a brief overview of what is in the gender framework. This is a framework, as I said, it's a framework which is seeking to enhance gender equality and inclusivity in the system, and it has four main four areas. This is to enhance gender equality and inclusivity in all levels of decision making. We have boards, we have ministries, we have heads of institutions like vice chancellors and whatever. We want to ensure that all levels of decision making, gender is being considered not only in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the capacity and the skills required to ensure execution of gender equality and inclusivity, but also in terms of allocation of resources, because if you have people who are knowledgeable, then it's easy. Another area that the gender framework is focusing is on career advancement, where we'll be addressing issues like STI environment, infrastructure, but also incentive schemes to make sure that they address in favor of gender equality. But very important as well is the research conduct processes at all granting levels and research conduct levels, where from the theme, formation of the theme to implementation to evaluation, that gender shall be considered. And also we have a strong component, the whole component of public awareness. And of course, we have specific indicators to track all those four areas that we are looking forward to operationalize once funding is available. We do have our own set of challenges. Our challenges stem from primarily from limited financing, especially for research to homegrown research to understand the spectrum, the whole spectrum of gender equality and inclusivity gaps, and also limited data for quantification, because even the ministries, they are looking for that research data that is disaggregated by gender to show various aspects, but that information is not readily available because of the culture of research that has been operating for all those years. But also the issues of skills is also a problem, a challenge. But also issues of awareness. There are some of stakeholders are not really aware why this is important, and that's why we have those capacity building. But we are looking forward to advance further. We feel that there is that strong unmet need for gender disaggregated data. As I said, there is a lot of demand from the sector ministries to, especially also because the country implementing the Generation Equality Program. As I said, we have a good national context in implementing gender issues. In terms of what we're thinking as a priority that we seek to pursue is disseminating the framework, conducting the training, first the launching, the national launching, and then disseminate, and then using the same to conduct capacity. We start internally at COSTECH, for better ownership to all levels of management and the administration, and also extend to R&Ds, HLIs and sectors. Then a database for management of data, because without database, it's difficult to know what's going on. And also update some of the guiding tools to ensure that they are compliant. The opportunities that we see is the granting, Science Granting Council. As I said, we have developed a proposal and we are looking forward, we probably get some fund, with, although may not be adequate to implement the whole gender framework, but some aspects will be captured, especially with respect to capacity building. Possibility of cross-council learning. We know that other councils are we can learn from them. And then we have this framework, so that's also an opportunity, umbrella that will guide us. And we, as I said before, we have the conducive national policies that we're looking forward that it's easy when if funding is available from the other national windows, then we can probably secure, although we are not quite sure how. Which windows we can use further, but we have a supportive institutional framework within COSTECH, and also the management is committed. And what we do first is to operationalize the framework, conduct the capacity building, because capacity building we can do conventional, but also online training to ensure that we are reaching.
Thanks. I think we've lost Hildegard there. I'm going to move over to Faith. If you could please share your presentation.
Thank you, Tashni. My name is Faith Wahungu from the National Research Fund Kenya. I am in the on the planning department, where we oversee the implementation of frameworks. So I'll quickly go to the context for NRF Kenya. The National Research Fund is an agency under the Ministry of Education in Kenya, and we are charged the mandate of mobilizing and managing resources to develop the national research capacity. So we are supposed to mobilize resources, and then we fund research to build the capacity. Our mandate, the fund achieves its mandate through funding of multidisciplinary, multi-institutional collaborative research, and also funding of research infrastructure. We also enhance human capacity, or build the capacity of human resources, and disseminate the research outputs. That is our main mandate, but we have also other functions. Yeah, so currently at the fund, we have data that shows that women researchers are lagging behind so much as compared to their male counterparts. And so that's why we really endeavor to have the guidelines in place and frameworks that help us to champion for gender balance. We also now provide platforms to provide, we provide platforms where we can have incentivize the researchers, especially those who are doing so well. Like come August this year, we have a research festival, and one of the categories that NRF is going to award is the best women researchers and the young researchers. So we really endeavor to champion for gender balance by providing those platforms. So at NRF, currently we have established structures in place to help us champion, and some of these structures are the Gender Mainstreaming Committee, which oversees and coordinates the activities in line with gender mainstreaming. And then we also have the Gender Mainstreaming Policy. Then we have the Gender Inclusivity Framework developed, so to coordinate and guide the integration of gender dimension in all aspects of NRF-funded research and processes. We have also co-opted the concept of gender champions to foster a culture of gender inclusivity. So champions are at the forefront, and I am one of the champions who carry out these gender activities. Then NRF also leverages on the SGCI in Sub-Saharan Africa to enhance the capacity of mainstreaming gender equality and inclusivity at the fund. We also have in place established structures to ensure that our call processes incorporate aspects of awareness creation on gender equality and inclusivity issues. And we target both researchers and reviewers. Once they apply and move to the next stage, we make sure that we create awareness on issues of gender as they go to undertake their research. Also at NRF, NRF is in the process of reviewing the research funding guidelines that are already in place and approved to incorporate gender equality and inclusivity aspects so that we can implement them. We notice that there are also emerging trends in gender, so we keep on reviewing our funding guidelines. Then we are also in the process of implementing the strategies outlined in the gender inclusivity framework that we developed. And one of the activities that we have started with in regards to implementing the framework is capacity building among researchers and also reviewers and also the staff at NRF. Thank you so much. And the challenges and the areas that need focus for us is inadequate funding. So our focus on that will be on enhancing resource mobilization by continuously engaging development partners so that we can enhance funding of research. Then also another challenge that we have at NRF is inadequate knowledge among staff, researchers, and reviewers on the emerging trends in gender equality, inclusivity, and intersectionality. So our focus here is to build capacity of staff, researchers, and reviewers. And that is one of our strategy in the framework that we really want to focus on, and we're already on it. Then we also have a less involvement of women in research and development activities. That's reducing their access to research grants. Here we're really focusing on creating awareness in research community to inspire young researchers and women to engage in competitive proposal writing. We also do develop some targeted call guidelines where we target and ensure that women researchers are PIs, are principal investigators in projects, or where we ensure that students are mentored in projects. So we also target that. Then we also have deep-seated cultural issues extending beyond organizational boundaries. This results in gender biases. Now on this one, our focus is on enhancing partnerships with county governments, development partners, NGOs, among other organizations, to develop and roll out campaign programs on gender inclusivity, equality and inclusivity. The gaps and funding priorities for NRF Kenya. The first gap that we have is inadequate funds to explicitly address gender equality and inclusivity concerns at the fund. Yeah, so our priority on this gap is we need to facilitate introductions to key stakeholders in the funding organizations to partner and fund specific gender equality and inclusivity research activities. So we need to have our development partners on board so that we can partner together and enhance our funding towards that. Also, lack of a dedicated male framework to assess a gay status. So for us, that one is also one of the gap, and what we require is offering of technical and financial support in the development of the effective J male framework. Then NRF has not also sufficiently capitalized on the available international networks to leverage on available opportunities for funding. So on this one, the priority for us will be to organize regular engagement in networking events forum with relevant partners for collaboration in resource mobilization. So what are the platforms that exist? There is the SGCI platform that already exists. So for us at NRF, we are members and we leverage on SGCI to engage in gender discussions. Then there's also the Global Research GRC Gender Working Group, where we also actively participate in it. Then we also have the SGCI technical agencies like HSRC that we also want on to enhance capacity of NRF on gender inclusivity issues. Then we can make available platforms like organizing frequent learning and exchange visits for councils and global partners. Thereby, we can be able to share knowledge, and they should be frequent and regular. Then we can also provide networking forums to engage in learning and exchange gender programs among all the levels, be it the young scientists, the students, the researchers themselves, and also the reviewers, all of them. If we provide those platforms to engage, it would be very good. Yeah. And that marks the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Faith. We appreciate all the input made by the various presenters, panelists. So just to provide a brief summary, a lot of the discussion was to provide more more women in research and women access to leadership positions through gender inclusive policies and training initiatives. A lot of the councils were focusing on the disadvantaged groups, and a key focus was on education and training to increase capacity of the researchers, reviewers, stakeholders. Also, access to research infrastructure remains a challenge within the space, and some of us trying to do a lot of initiatives with limited infrastructure or resources available. Career advancement and initiative schemes. Some of the presenters indicated particular gaps in terms of funding for GEI initiatives, which is sometimes limited within their context. Data, the available data, and having access to data. I think a lot of the councils are also at the data gathering stages, but also trying to do a lot in terms of awareness of stakeholders, training, awareness for stakeholders, public engagements, and skills development. Many of the councils spoke about guiding tools, policies, and frameworks that are also underpin the international policies, but also institutional strategies that focus on, and then in terms of leveraging partnerships as part of national programs and links, as well as international platforms and partnerships to advance GE and gender initiatives within their sector. So just to engage on the discussions, I just want to discuss, I know some of you presented some of this, but just to focus on fast-tracking gender using some of the latest sort of platforms that are available. Maybe if you can just elaborate on that. Faith, I know Hildegard, you presented a lot of the initiatives for fast-tracking sort of these initiatives within your council. Maybe you can just elaborate on that for us.
Thank you very much, Thashni. At a level, mostly what the platforms that we are using to drive those initiatives is through forums, like majorly when we roll out a call, we have applicants applying. The gap we've realized is that very few women apply. So we've taken upon ourselves to call all the applicants for a meeting, like a conference, one-day conference. Then we take them through a training, and then we highlight on gender equality, importance of gender equality and inclusivity in the whole process, where they need to include women researchers in the team, young in the teams, maybe majorly students. We encourage that they include them in the teams. And we also, the participation also includes the reviewers. And so when we select our reviewers, we make sure that even the panels also include both women and male. We don't leave the women out of that. So we have made sure that